And thanks everyone for joining. I hope you've got a sandwich or something yummy to enjoy during the presentation. As Ian said, I'm Sophia and I'm the product lead covering Australia and New Zealand on our flood products, which is Flood Platform and Flood Modeler. And a few people asked me, what does it mean to be a product lead? Well, I do everything from sales to support and also get involved in the product research and the product development. That's one of the things I love about my job and why I joined the team is I came from modelling in Australia, and it's really nice to be a voice for the Australian and New Zealand industry back to product development to make sure that we've got products that actually suit the needs of the industry over here. So enough about me. I will just go over to the next slide, which will have the agenda. So I'll give a little overview of Flood Platform, what it is and where it came from. And then we're really going to focus on visualization. So visualizing the model data and also the model results. And then I'll cover how we can share models, a little success story that we had recently, and also then I'll pass over to Ian for Q&A. Okay, so Flood Platform, we didn't develop it out of thin air. We went and did some industry research, which was one of the great things and something I admired about Jacob's Flood products team when I was working for a competitor, is they went out and did real research. They did survey and interview, asking the industry what their biggest pains and challenges were and what they thought the vision for the future of flood modelling was. And they didn't just, even though they're based in the UK, they didn't just go and ask the UK. They went around and asked everyone in the globe, and I've seen plenty of responses from Australia. You can always tell an Aussie response because we're brutally honest. But the feedback came through and really fell into 4 different categories. So collaboration, data, technology, and security. These were the things that the industry really wanted help with and wanted to improve in the future. So collaboration, all about sharing models and reviewing models. I think that's one of the things that I've learned is not a lot has changed in the 10 years that I've been out of doing modelling and model reviews. Is we're still using hard drives and email to kind of share models. There's a lot more we can do in today's age. And then with the data, locating the data and then transferring the data and also version control. Talking to a few different users around Australia lately, I've noticed that it only takes one person to be on sick leave when everything falls apart and no one can find a model. So Flood Platform's being developed to kind of help solve some of these problems. And obviously technology is moving forward. People want help with their software licensing, their computer resources, and we don't want to be doing manual work anymore where we can. And then security kind of overarches this. I think everyone's a little bit concerned about data security. It was only yesterday that I heard on the news that lots of bank details have been given out on the dark web. So definitely something that we need to consider. All right, so that's what FloodPlat's been built to kind of solve. And we didn't start from scratch. We have our internal tools at Jacobs that we've been using for the last 15 years to manage the models that we have globally. So you can imagine an organisation like Jacobs, where we've got multiple offices in many countries, building models for many different clients. We needed a way to manage those models and also be able to share resources to be able to run those simulations. We did build a brand new product that was a bit more suitable for everyone outside of Jacobs for Flood Platform, but we've used all the learnings that we've had along the way internally to make that available to everyone. Right, so the key functionalities of Flood Platform is model management, visualization, simulation analysis, reporting, collaboration, and security and compliance. One thing you'll notice there is there's no hydraulic engines or model build. That's not something we're doing. That's not something the industry asks for. Flood Platform is really built for Australia and New Zealand to manage your TUFLOW and your HEC-RAS and all your other modelling or other modelling packages that you use. All right, so back over to the visualization of the model inputs. So I'll flick through a couple of slides and show you what you can do, and then I'll jump into Flood Platform and show you live. So the global catalogue, this was a bit of a dream for our global solutions director, having a globe you can spin around and see all of your different models. This is obviously important for a company like Jacobs, where we have all of those different models in different countries. Probably less useful if you're working in, for example, just Brisbane. However, you can lay out all of those different models on a map. And just recently, I was asking one of the seniors in the Jacobs team if he knew or if he tracked where all the models that he'd worked on were, and he told me they actually had a spreadsheet built over 40 years with all the different models that he'd built, so he didn't forget and have to build something twice, which is pretty neat. Hopefully Flood Platform can alleviate other people having to build those spreadsheets. Now, if you're more of an engineer, you don't like the global view, you can obviously use the list view. And this is really a series of files and folders inside Flood Platform, allowing you to kind of manage your models how you would like. And one of the most powerful functionalities of Flood Platform, I think, is the ability to see the different model files in the way that you want to be able to see them. So usually if you, for example, you're getting a TUFLOW model, you want to review it, you have to find the model, you probably have to unzip it because someone zipped it up to make the file size smaller. You then have to open Excel, QGIS, MapInfo, Notepad, whatever it is. You need to have the latest plugins to make sure that you can read the data. And then you probably need some color coding on your Notepad, which seems pretty mundane and day-to-day for a flood modeler. But if you're someone who's reviewing models and perhaps not in the models every day, that's a bit of a tall ask, having to install those different products and actually know which ones to use on which file. So Flood Platform allows you to do all of that from within the web browser. You can also export your model. So if you wanted to upload your model and then share it with your client or your reviewer, then you just need to add them to your workspace or your project, and then you can give them the link, and then they can export that model to wherever they want to use it. So they might want to do some edits or maybe file it on their own local drives for security purposes. Although you can just keep everything in Flood Platform if you wish. So you can export the model there. We recently did use this functionality because the Jacobs Flood team were in a bit of a pickle. They couldn't get their pretty large, complex flood model to their client because we had IT issues on our end that prevented using hard drives. We were encrypting them where they couldn't use it on the other side. And then the client also had some IT issues where they couldn't use the usual file share services because the model was so big. So we uploaded it to Flood Platform, sent them the link, and then they just exported and downloaded the model to wherever they needed it. Another nice thing about Flood Platform is it does do a check of all the files that you're uploading, so to make sure that you've got everything you need to rerun that model. So if you are using this as a model management system, the last thing you want to do is build a model, put it away somewhere, not think about it, and then in 5 years' time you need to pick that model up and reuse it for something else, and there's a file missing. So if you use Flood Platform, you will, at the time of upload, go and check your upload checks and go and find or resolve any problems that you have so that you don't get a painful headache in a few years when you need to use that model again. All right, so I'll jump over to Flood Platform now and show you some of these tools. So it's all web-based, no installation. Licensing is just a login. You get two-factor authentication with your phone. Make sure that only you have the access to the data that you need. So this is the global catalog. You can spin it around. You can see some different models in here. You can also look at the list view. So I've got there's a tester account, so you can see there's plenty of models in here to look for. So I can zoom to where I've been building my APAC models. You can see I've got various projects around Australia. And I can zoom in here. You can also use the search command if you don't know your way around. This is my favorite demo model location because I know it quite well. So you can click on this one and then you can actually see it highlighted in the map. And then you can click directly to that so that you can see different model files. So one thing nice in a web browser, if you hit Control, you can open up different tabs rather than moving from one and having to go back using your breadcrumbs. All right, so here we've got, you can see the different file folders you can access if you prefer not using the global view. But let's go in and have a look at the different model files. So we've got the simulations, the model files, and the upload checks. This model has no errors at the moment, which is nice. I've got all the files I need. But if we go and have a look at the different model files, Right, we can have a look at the batch file, the control file. It's all nicely color-coded for you. And then you can also look at different model inputs. So you can look at CSVs. You've got your search bar there. You can edit your columns. And shortly we'll be able to see the different GIS files that you have in your model as well. And then we will jump over soon and have a look at the simulations. But here is the export model option as well. So you can export just the model with everything you need, or you can export just the simulation if you're just looking for a particular result. Right, so having a look at the model outputs for the results. So we've got a really nice kind of graph view of all the simulation details and the health of the model. So you can quickly see, has the model run to completion? Is it healthy? Is the flow coming in and out of the model as you expect? You can also have a look at the log file, so no need to open up your notepad and search through there. There's a search command inside the log as well. And then we can replay results. And with that, we can go through the different time steps. We can turn on maximums. We can plot graphs. We can look at the different input data that we've used into our model. And we can export those out as well. So I'll jump back into Flood Platform in a minute and show you that. And this pretty much everything that you have inside your TUFLOW model, you'll be able to see inside the results. So here you go, I'm just loading up the simulation health dashboard. So depending on what solution scheme you use and which model you use, so if you use Flood Modeler, this will look slightly different because it uses different things to check the simulation health. And if you use HPC, this will also look slightly different. But you can see here that the math error is pretty minor. No negative depths along the simulation, which is nice. Often we just have a look at the overall negative depths and cumulative mass error over the whole simulation or at the end of the simulation. So it's good to be able to see this during the time steps. We can also have a look at the log file. And anything you need to look in there, you can also use the search functionality to highlight something if you wanted to. So we've got lots of matches there. All right, so you can have a look at the different, how long it took to run the simulations, pretty quick little model. And then we'll click over to view the results. So if you don't have results of this, you can click on the run simulations, but we'll talk in detail about simulation analysis in an upcoming webinar. All right, so here we've got the options for viewing the results. You've got the aerial view, or you've got the map view, depending on what you want to look at. You can add some different model files. So I've got the 2D code layer there to see where my model is. And then you can add your different elements. So I've got, might just add my pipes in there. This is a pit and pipe model with 2D overland flow. And then you can add your different 2D results as well. So I've got the depth, velocity, water level, and time to peak. They're the results that I picked in my TUFLOW model. You can change the opacity. You can step through the results, and you can play them as a simulation if you want to. The other thing you can do is you can just hit the maximum results, which is what a lot of people do, just look at the maximum envelope. And then you can kind of interrogate any of the results that you're after. So if you just click on, for example, a link here, it's nice, it highlights the link for you, shows you the direction of it, and then it shows you both the input details, so you can see the invert levels here, the size of the box culvert, and also the results there. So you get the upstream and downstream water levels plus the flow through the pipe, which is nice. And then same with kind of your pits and your channels. So I'm an Australian. I don't build 1D channels in my TUFLOW models very often. So I'll jump over to another model that actually has some 1D channels. This is for anyone in New Zealand who's building their 1D models still in ESTRY. or building your river models with ESTRY, I should say. So here we've got some 1D pit and pipe across here, and then we've got some of the river represented as a 1D channel. And still you can put on the results like we did in the previous model. But when we click on these 1D channel links, we get slightly different results. So we still get the upstream and downstream water levels and the flow through the channel, but we also get the channel profile and the managed roughness that's been used for that cross section, which is really nice. Something that's not easily accessible for TUFLOW models. So really nice to have those both together in the view. And that's really it. That's all I really wanted to show with the visualization. It's such a simple tool that solves such complex problems. But again, there's the export the simulation option if you just wanted the model and the results for that particular run. So jump back to the slides. So just summarizing the different different capabilities of Flood Platform. So we've got the model management, the visualization, which we've kind of covered in a bit more detail today, simulation analysis, reporting, collaboration, and security and compliance. And the collaboration, security, and compliance really does overarch all of the other functionality. And today, hot off the press, I think I'm the first person in the team to be able to share this with anyone. So if you have been looking through this webinar and wondering what does all this cost, we'll have a viewer option, which will be completely free. You'll be able to view all your models, but you won't be able to upload and download, I believe. Core functionality, which is everything you've seen today plus more. You'll be able to manage your models, run simulations, analyze your results, and transfer them to different people inside and outside of your organization. And so that's Australian dollars, $450 a month per seat, which if you're a senior engineer, you only have to save an hour or two and you'll cover your costs, which is nice. And then also we'll have an advanced option in the future where you'll be able to include some machine learning and AI to be able to streamline your modeling processes. So that's just the seat. And then if you are a heavy user and you need lots of storage and lots of simulation time, you can add on some packages there where you'll get higher storage and simulation. I'll talk a little bit more about the simulations in another webinar because it gets a little bit complicated when you look at different hardware types and how long a model takes to run. It's always difficult to know how long a model is going to take to run. All right. And coming up, so if you've got comments or feedback or you want to know more, please do come and see us at the Floodplain Management Australia Conference in Melbourne if you're going to be around. Our technical director for our flood products is actually going to visit from the UK. He'll be there for the week. So great opportunity to share your feedback directly with the person that makes all the decisions. And we'll also be running a webinar with the Australian Water School on unlocking the full value of flood model. So there's lots of variations around Australia and New Zealand on how we manage models. Some people do it really well, some people do it terribly and face the consequences later on in life. But we will be sharing some of the benefits of having a good management system and also having a look at some of the people that are doing a great job at that.